Contact! Get in cover! Hello my friends, it's Gabriel with the Last Huntsman channel here. Today we're going to be doing a video on the good old classic SKS rifle. Alright, so here we have the SKS rifle. This specific model is the Norinco Type 56. And of course there's a few different variants of the Norinco. This one obviously has the blade type bayonet, but there's also a spike bayonet. There's a paratrooper, which I actually think would be really cool to have a paratrooper one. And then of course there's Yugo models, and there's the original Russian models. These were originally developed towards the end of World War II, and then they were kind of a day late and a dollar short type of thing, if you kind of look into the history. And I'm not going to get into too much specifics, but basically by the time that these got really produced, the AK-47 started kind of coming onto the forefront, and so the SKS kind of got pushed to the side. However, what that did do is create just a huge surplus of these rifles that just got kind of tossed all over the world, and they kind of, a lot of them, you know, obviously managed to get to the United States, which has kind of led to some good old-fashioned redneck fun. All right, so first of all, I'm going to just kind of get this caveat out of the way here. The SKS is, to me, a good classic, just fun rifle to shoot. To me, it's kind of almost like a poor man's M1 Garand. What the SKS is not is a modern rifle. It's not an AR-15, or it's also not an AK-47. So I'm just getting that caveat out of the way real quick, because I know people are going to be like, well, why would you have an SKS if you can have one of those? Okay, I have one of those. It's just, I'm having fun with the SKS. So just enjoy the video and watch before you say something stupid. Contact! In cover! All right, some other details about the SKS rifle, and you know, a lot of people knows this, but I just want to kind of go over some basics real quick. They shoot the 7.62 by 39 round, or a lot of people just calls it AK ammo. Actually, the SKS came out before the AK, and I actually think that ammo was originally developed for a machine gun, if I recall right. Now, you know, obviously this is the Chinese model. I've stated that earlier. This is the blade bayonet model, so it does have a blade type bayonet, which I think is pretty cool. I actually think the spike bayonet is probably more functional in all actuality, but let's just be realistic here. I never want to get within bayonet range, but you know, if it's zombies or something, might be kind of handy, right? It's good old classic wood and steel rifle. Now, something else, a lot of like baby boomer fuds and even just modern idiots will get these rifles and they'll try to turn them into something that they're not. They'll try to, you know, turn it into some modern rifle to try to compete with an AR-15 or AK. Don't do that. That's pretty stupid. These are nice, fun, classic rifle as is. Like I said earlier, I just treat it like a poor man's M1 Grand. So, you know, just let's enjoy it for what it is. There's not really much of a decent way to mount a scope. Now, I will say this, Ultimac rail, they make, you know, forward rail for like AKs. I wish they would make a forward, like legit rail for an SKS. I actually think this would be kind of a fun scout rifle to play with. But other than that, and I know what some people are going to say in the comments is, oh, well, there's some cheesy, you know, retarded scope mounting. No, I'm not going to take the iron sights off or anything like that. So that's stupid. The SKS used to be kind of considered the kind of poor man's starter rifle. You know, if you were like, well, I'll throw this out there. When I was a poor college kid, you know, this was one of the first rifles that I got just to have like something to say, okay, hey, I got a rifle. My original SKS was a Yugo one, which if you guys know your SKS is the Yugoslavian one, has the like little muzzle brake thing and the grenade launcher kind of hook up and stuff. Looks pretty cool. I wish I never, I wish that rifle never got separated from me. But decided a little while back ago I had to have another one. Now, these used to be a really, really cheap rifle. Like I know people back in the 80s would say that you could pick these up for like 50 to, you know, 80 bucks. I know when I was in like high school and college, these could have been found for like around the 150 to 250 or so range. And now these days, well, you could get a Palmetto State Armory AR-15 for less than what an SKS goes for. These are generally more of around the $600-700, maybe even pushing $800 range these days, which on the surface, I know a lot of people will say that's kind of an inflated price, and it is. Of course, granted, all the gun prices and everything has gone up these days. But that being said, something else that I kind of like to try to remind people of is if you were to try to reproduce a short stroke steel receiver wood stock semi-auto rifle on the American market today, it would probably be a $1,500+ rifle. I mean, even now you're seeing American made AKs that are going for, you know, $1,000 plus, and this actually probably is just as much engineering as an AK's. So just take that into consideration. So really, I think what you're seeing with the inflated price is actually the true value of one of these rifles. All right, so another little detail about this rifle is, now of course I've seen a lot of fuddy-duddies and people like put like, you know, 20, 30, 40 round extended magazines on this. I just like to keep it just as is, because like I said, this to me is just a fun rifle. And so the little 10 rounder, it's kind of nice, handy, it carries easy. And you know, a lot of people may disregard this, but I don't know if you guys have noticed with some of my videos, I like to carry this around the farm. It's kind of just a handy little rifle to carry around, and I could carry this cheap little Chinese chest rig with it. And you know, instead of having magazines that's sticking out and bulky and stuff like that, these little stripper clip pouches literally are just real thin. So you know, it's kind of just nice to go poke around the farm or go hike around and stuff with an SKS. So that's why I just keep it kind of slim and basic, and I just like the classic look. All right, so something else to take note on with the SKS rifle, the safety is just right here. So it's just a little flipper, which I actually like that safety. I'll say this, I actually like the safety on an SKS better than I do even an AK-47, just because with the AK you kind of have to take your hand off, or you know, do some other kind of manipulation to pop the safety. While this, it's just your trigger finger's right there, so it's pretty easy to actuate the safety on an SKS rifle. Now, something else to take note on, well, a few things, is the SKS will lock the bolt back when it's empty. That's to allow for stripper clip reloading. Now, another thing to take note on is the SKS does not have that like modern rifle look. It kind of has the more, obviously the more classic rifle look. So if you are behind enemy lines and say you can't get one of the other rifles previously shown, then an SKS ain't a bad option to consider. I know, you know, a lot of people will throw out like a Mini 14 or other things, but you know, honestly, if I was behind enemy lines, this probably would be one of the first rifles I would probably at least have in my list. Now, I know some of the fascist places that are behind enemy lines, they don't like the bayonet thing, so, but that's pretty easy to take off. All right, so I mentioned earlier the Chinese chest rig. These were, you can find these all over the internet. They're pretty cheap. You could hold, they say that you could hold at least like 2 or 3 stripper clips per pouch. I find that they get kind of caught up and bound up on each other too much to do that. So I just put 1 in each, but that's still like a really slim profile, and to, you know, carry spare ammo on. And also something else that I like to carry is, this is the Strike Hard cheek pouch that actually holds 3 stripper clip in the pouches. However, I don't think these are in production anymore, so that sucks, honestly, because it's pretty nice. I don't have anything in there right now, but you can fit 3 sets of stripper clips in there, secure them and all that good stuff. Now, I did upgrade this Chinese chest rig. It did just have a, well, you can't hardly see it, but it did just have a tie back there. I took that off and put some heavier duty nylon straps on it, and then I put a buckle on there so I could just throw it on and buckle it together instead of having to try to tie it behind my back. Just make it a little quicker, because like I said, I use this for a farm gun. the SKS rifle. Now, if this is all you had, can you use this for like home defense or ranch defense, or, you know, defense against, for country against invading screaming Chinese, or whatever fantasy scenario you want to throw into? And by the way, I'm not promoting violence or anything like that, so you guys can get that out of your head real quick. But can you use the SKS? And I'm gonna say right off the bat, it's not an AR, it's not an AK, it's not a modern rifle. It's a 1940s, 1950s technology rifle. However, skill matters more than the actual rifle itself. There's guys on a regular basis that's, you know, in places where they can't get certain guns, or they just happen to have, you know, granddaddy's 30-30 lever action, and they defend their homes and property all the time with a good old classic gun. And so sometimes I think a lot of the tactical elite guys will kind of disregard things that are from the past. And, you know, granted, I like the latest and greatest just like anybody else. However, don't disregard the old stuff either. And so, yes, you can surely defend home and property with a SKS rifle. It just takes skill and, you know, learning to utilize the stripper clips and stuff, which, you know, is pretty I think it's kind of fun, actually. You just stick them in, jam rounds in, pop the stripper clip out. All right, my friends, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. This is the SKS rifle, a good old, well, I guess you can say communist classic, but, you know, anymore I think they're more of an American classic. A lot of your old timers and FUDs and just gun nerds like myself love to just play with and shoot these rifles. And, you know, if you don't have one, you might go check one out. They're pretty cool to mess with. I highly encourage getting one. You know, they're a pretty soft shooting rifle. I actually think they're softer shooting than even like an AK-47 for sure. So teaching somebody to use a rifle that you're just trying to bump them up from something, you know, besides like a 22 or something, that would actually be a pretty good choice for this rifle too. And with the short length of pole, it'd actually be decent for a smaller stature person. Some final notes, accuracy wise, I get about 3 to 4 inch groups with this rifle on average, you know, so it's not going to be like some super tack driver, but it's accurate enough, like, you know, within a few hundred yards. And I've seen people take them out, like, I'll give a shout out to AK Operators Union. I've seen him take SKSs out to like 500 yards before. So, you know, like I said earlier about the home defense portion or defensive rifle portion, it just depends on the user more than anything else. So get out there, have fun, be prepared both physically and spiritually. God bless, and carry on.